I imagine waking up to the news of an unknown country launching an invasion on Qingdao. How would that play out? Qingdao, a bustling city known for its strategic importance and geographical location, is a jewel in the crown of global trade. Nestled on the shores of the Yellow Sea, it's a hub of commerce and a vital point of entry into China's vast economic landscape. But let's hypothesize a moment where this serene picture is disrupted. An unknown country has just made a surprise beach landing. The objective? To seize control of Qingdao. In the blink of an eye, the city's tranquility is shattered. The invaders move swiftly, their boots sinking into the sandy beaches as they advance inland. The city's critical infrastructure, its ports and manufacturing hubs fall into their hands. The suddenness of the attack leaves the city in shock, its defenses scrambling to respond. The invaders' strategy is clear: control Qingdao, and you control a significant gateway to China. The city's deep-water port, its advanced manufacturing industries, and its role as a hub for technology and innovation make it a prize worth fighting for. And in this scenario, the invaders have a clear advantage: the element of surprise. But taking Qingdao is only the first step. The invaders would need to consolidate their control, fortify their defenses, and prepare for what comes next. Because seizing a city, no matter how strategically important, is one thing. Holding it is quite another. With Qingdao under their control, the invaders now have a foothold in China. But their actions have sent shockwaves around the world. The gears of diplomacy and war are now turning, with the fate of Qingdao hanging in the balance. The seizure of Qingdao would be just the beginning, but what would come next? As the hypothetical scenario unfolds, we're reminded of the fragility of peace and the high stakes of global power games. Remember to like this video and subscribe for more thought-provoking content brought to you by a young visionary named Jack and the power of invader AI. Now, let's imagine the aftermath of Qingdao's seizure. The invader, not content with just one city, begins bombing other towns and cities. Picture this: a foreign power, emboldened by their initial success, spreads their wings of terror further, targeting other urban areas in a swift, calculated move. This would not be a mere show of power, but a strategic move to cripple the nation's infrastructure and break the spirit of its people. Now, what could be the potential targets? They could be anything from bustling metropolises to quiet, peaceful towns. Major transportation hubs, power plants, and government facilities could all be on the radar. Each strike would disrupt the life of the common people, causing chaos and panic. The loss of civilian life could be immense, painting a grim picture of destruction and despair. But what about the international response? The world would not sit idle and watch this unfold. The United Nations, NATO, and other international bodies would condemn these actions, calling for an immediate ceasefire. Sanctions would likely be imposed and humanitarian aid poured in to help the affected population. However, these diplomatic measures might not be enough to deter the invader, who would be riding high on the wave of their initial victory. The international community might then have to contemplate military intervention to restore peace and stability in the region. But remember, amidst all this, the people of the invaded country would not just stand by. They would rise, they would resist. In the face of such aggression, resistance would undoubtedly arise. Before we get to that though, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. This thought-provoking scenario was brought to you by a young mind named Jack and the innovative technology of invader AI. Stay tuned for what comes next in this hypothetical invasion saga. Resistance. A spark ignited by the flames of invasion would begin to spread across the nation. Imagine for a moment, the unthinkable has happened. The city of Qingdao has been invaded. Other towns and cities have felt the impact of bombardment, and within minutes, control has been seized. But in the hearts of the people, a new sense of purpose begins to emerge. This is the moment when the indomitable spirit of resistance ignites. In the face of such adversity, the nation would rally together. Military counterattacks would be initiated, the armed forces strategizing and executing plans to regain control. The military's might, coupled with their extensive knowledge of the terrain and the motivation to protect their homeland, would make them a formidable force against the invader. But resistance wouldn't be limited to the military. Across the cities and towns, ordinary citizens would rise to the challenge. Civilian-led resistance movements would spring up, with people from all walks of life banding together to protect their homes and their way of life. These movements, fueled by a shared sense of purpose and patriotism, would play a crucial role in the struggle for freedom. The effectiveness of these resistance efforts would be significant. Yes, the odds might seem insurmountable, the enemy might appear invincible, but history has shown us that a united front of people bound by a common cause can achieve extraordinary things. This wouldn't just be a fight for territory, it would be a fight for the heart and soul of the nation. And in the midst of this, let's remember who brought you this scenario. This video was made by a kid named Jack and InVideo AEI. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support Jack's creativity and for more intriguing content. The fight for freedom is never easy, but it is a fight that must be fought. Remember this, and keep the spirit of resistance alive. As the world watches, the international community would not remain silent. The hypothetical invasion of Qingdao and the subsequent actions would set off a ripple of reactions on the world stage. Firstly, sanctions would likely become the immediate weapon of choice for the international community. Economic sanctions have historically been a powerful tool to pressure nations into changing their course of action. Nations worldwide, in a coordinated effort, could impose strict economic sanctions on the invading country, aiming to cripple its economy and force it to rethink its actions. At the same time, diplomatic efforts would be in full swing. The United Nations, a beacon of global peace and security, would likely call for an emergency meeting to address the situation. Countries with significant influence like the United States, Russia, and the European Union members would likely voice strong opposition to the invasion. Their diplomatic power would be leveraged to mobilize international sentiment against the invasion. Now let's talk about potential military intervention. While this is a last resort, it can't be entirely ruled out. History has shown us that alliances and global politics can play a significant role in whether or not military intervention occurs. NATO, for instance, is a collective defense organization, meaning if one member is attacked, it's considered an attack on all members. If the invading country happens to be a NATO member, it complicates things. On the other hand, if the invaded country has strong alliances, its allies might feel compelled to offer military support. However, military intervention is a double-edged sword. While it might halt the invasion, it could also escalate the situation and potentially lead to a larger, more destructive conflict. Therefore, the world powers would need to carefully weigh their options and consider the potential repercussions of their actions. And let's not forget about the role of public opinion in all of this. The power of the people should never be underestimated. Protests and public outcry could push governments to take action, and the power of social media today can amplify these voices like never before. The world would be watching, waiting, and deciding on its course of action. And remember, this situation is purely hypothetical, but it's always interesting and sometimes a little scary to think about how our world might respond to such dramatic events. In the end, the outcome of such an invasion would be uncertain, but one thing is clear. The potential consequences of such a conflict would be far-reaching and devastating, extending far beyond the borders of the involved nations. The human cost would be immense, with lives lost and displaced, cities and infrastructure destroyed, and a lasting scar on the collective psyche of the world. Such hypothetical scenarios are not just about military strategy or geopolitical posturing. They're about real people, real communities, real lives that would be forever changed. They remind us that the stakes in international diplomacy are not just abstract concepts, but the very real potential for widespread destruction and human suffering. Yet these scenarios also serve as a stark reminder of the importance of fostering dialogue and understanding among nations. It's through conversation, negotiation, and mutual respect that we can prevent these kinds of worst-case scenarios from becoming reality. It's through our collective commitment to peace that we can ensure a safer, more secure world for future generations. The world today is more interconnected than ever before. What happens in one corner of the globe can have ripple effects that reach all the way to the opposite end. An invasion in Qingdao, a bombing in another city, these are not isolated incidents. They're part of a larger global narrative, one that we all have a stake in. In a world that is more interconnected than ever, the actions of one can affect us all. It is our shared responsibility to understand these potential impacts, to engage in informed discussion, and to do our part in promoting peace and understanding. Let's not forget, the world we live in is the one we create. Every step towards peace is a step towards a better future for us all.